Oh joy, I get to read not one but 2 Eurocat stories for today's review, because I got sassy with the creator again. Oh wonderful, how bloody wonderful. I mean, it could be worse. It could be worse, because the original punishment was going to be that I had to read another chapter of the Spanish fly invasion. So thankfully, someone spoke up in the comments and said, no, that's cruel. So instead, the original request for today was from my little kitty, and it was a Eurocat fanfiction called The True Story of Little Red Riding Hood and the Wolf, and that will be the first story I read. It only has like a 500 word count. So the creator's like, we can do better than that. And she added in Blossom Becomes a Feminist as the second story, which this one has over 800 words for the word count. Again, it could be worse. I could be reading another chapter of the Spanish fly invasion, which I would rather not, but something tells me that I might be revisiting that story in the future. Even though I said that I wouldn't. But I don't have a say in things anymore. So let's get this over with. The first story, as I said before, is The True Story of Little Red Riding Hood and the Wolf by Eurocat. Here's a summary. You may have heard of the story before, but you likely heard an inaccurate version of it. Here is what actually happened. I doubt that. Rated Fiction T. Well, at least it's not rated M. It's a parody. It has 521 words, 2 reviews, 2 faves, and it was published back in April of 2018. Let's not waste any more time. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, lived a little girl called Little Red Riding Hood. She got the name from her red cape, in which she wiped her bloody hands from going on hunting trips with her evil friend the hunter. Well, that took an unexpected turn. One day, while setting fires in the woods, she came across a starving vegan wolf. Starving vegan wolf. A starving vegan wolf. Wolves are carnivores. They're carnivores, as in they need to eat meat in order to survive. There is no such thing as vegan wolves. Bloody fucking Christ. He was at the end of his strength due to no longer eating other animals, since it was not nice. The wolf asked the girl what was in her basket. Rabbit tail sandwiches, the girl answered. Wait a minute, why would you eat a rabbit's tail? There's like nothing there. It would just be bone. The starving wolf was appalled, but still begged her to give him a little of the sandwich bread to still his hunger. But the mean girl yelled at him, "No way! These are for my fat and satiated grandma." She then walked away to slay a hedgehog family or two. The poor wolf was in desperate need of food, so he went to the nearest house in hopes to find a good person willing to show him some kindness. He knocked on the door, and an old grumpy woman opened it. She roared at him. The scared wolf gasped in shock and simultaneously tripped and fell with his wide open mouth. Wide open mouth. I lost my place. Okay, there we are, sorry. The fulminating hag who accidentally ended up in the wolf. You don't just accidentally eat someone. The poor wolf, unused to meat in his stomach, felt very sick, and he had to lay down on the bed. Then came the cruel Red Riding Hood and started interrogating the poor animal. Okay, then came the cruel Red Riding Hood and started... Could you please rewrite that? It should say, then came the cruel Red Riding Hood, and then she started to interrogate the poor animal after waking him up. The wolf was so scared that he couldn't say a single word, however. The main grandma was saying things out of his stomach and mimicked the wolf's voice to make it seem like our wolfie is some kind of evil bloodthirsty monster who wants to eat Red Riding Hood. The deviant girl quickly figured out that the person who was talking out of the wolf's stomach was her companion grandma, so she quickly jumped down the wolf's throat so that they could hack out their evil plan. The wolf has had enough of the animal abuse he had to suffer through, so he decided to go to Peter to report the crimes done against him. He was stopped, however, since in front of the house the hunter was awaiting him. He received a call from Red Riding Hood and Grandma just as he bought a new shotgun from Walmart. Again, 2 L's in Walmart. The radiation of the mobile phone in the wolf's stomach would have, without a doubt, caused a lot of medical complications in the long run, had the hunter not torn the wolf apart at that moment. I don't think Little Red... Well, then again, Walmarts don't exist back then either, when I digress. Due to the only witness of this crime getting murdered and made into a fur rug in Grandma's living room, the evil trio had an easy job at making up a false story about our wolf being the evil villain, and the police didn't suspect a thing. The truth would have remained hidden away had the brave fan-fiction writer not decided to make it see the light of day. Remember, kids, don't trust anyone. Well, that was like the stupidest thing I have ever read. That was so bloody stupid. That was bloody stupid. Oh! Moving on to the next story. Hopefully this one is better. Blossom becomes a feminist. The summary. Who would have guessed that a simple disagreement while waiting for dinner could result in this? It's rated T. It's a drama. It's 861 words. Full reviews published back in June of 2018. This one doesn't say it's complete. But again, it was written back in 2018. It's 2022, 4 years later. They're not continuing it, or at least I don't think they are. And if they do, hopefully I won't have to revisit it. Chapter 1. A new chapter in Blossom's life. It was dinner time at the house of the Powerpuff Girls. I forgot the E and the. The three were sitting at the table and waiting for Professor Utonium to serve his famous whoop-ass stew. Fighting the monster sure was fun, said Bubbles. It was fun, but way too easy. We didn't even struggle, added Buttercup. Indeed, I'm so glad we can do this, all thanks to feminism, said Blossom proudly. Buttercup was silent for a few seconds and then started laughing. What do they have to do with us? They didn't become superheroes because a constantly triggered bunch made some banners. How can you say that? Don't you realize what they have done for us? Asked Blossom. Like what? Asked Buttercup. Everything. Didn't you learn history? Yes, decades before we were born. They did take part in good causes, but they were neither the sole reason why changes happened, nor have they been relevant in anything noteworthy recently. That movement as a whole is not relevant to me now, replied Buttercup. So you don't even realize that you're oppressed. How am I oppressed? Name a single law that disadvantages me. Don't you use these minimalist tactics against me, shouted Blossom. Whatever. Where's the dinner? I'm starving, groaned Buttercup. I can't believe that you are so ignorant of our still ongoing sisterhood struggle. You need to be educated, said an obviously annoyed Blossom. Oh, come on. We have better things to do than to listen to some preachy self-proclaimed victims that have nothing better to do than to spend the whole day at searching for things that offend them, replied Buttercup. Bubbles followed up. And besides, we need to save the city all the time, as well as making sure we have a good performance in kindergarten. We already are scarce of free time. We don't need an ideology to swallow up the little fun we have. Blossom frowned, and her face turned red, and she began tapping her smartphone. The professor heard the conversation, came into the room and tried calming down the situation. Now, Blossom, it's a good thing that you show interest and concern on such a topic, but you need to respect your sisters and accept that no means no. Professor, I know you mean well, but I don't appreciate mansplaining when it comes to this topic. And besides, a few seconds ago, I applied me and my sisters to a summer school feminism course. You did what? Shouted Bubbles and Buttercup. I applied us to that course. We'll get the proper education during the summer. Buttercup hit the table with her hand. No way, Professor, she can't do that to us. Blossom, I disapprove of how you forcefully trying to impose your views on your sisters. I didn't raise you like this, said the Professor firmly. Really? Then you wouldn't mind if I share the news of you not allowing your superhero daughters to attend a feminism course. I'm certain that this won't have any negative future consequences in regards to your career and everyday life, said Blossom with smugness in her voice. The Professor's eyes widened. Are you seriously trying to blackmail your own father? You leave me no other choice, and besides, we need some female influences while we grow up. Should have thought of that before you accidentally put your chemical X into the ingredients that made us. Forget it. You can't force me, yelled Buttercup. Blossom smiled smugly and said, yes, I can. The contract of the course says that you need to take part for the first 2 weeks, or you have to cover the living costs of the organizers for a whole year. Well, that's not how that works. What? Screamed Buttercup. If you don't believe me, then have a good read at the fine print at the bottom, said Blossom while handing her smartphone to her sisters. Bubbles and Buttercup read the next text. Their faces changed dramatically while time passed. Their confused expressions were replaced by frowns, and their faces became noticeably red. You're evil, yelled Buttercup, while Bubbles gave silent disapproval. Evil? I'm just doing the right thing, said Blossom firmly. We'll get back at you, proclaimed Buttercup. Really? What are you planning to do? Blossom said with a grin. Buttercup was beyond pissed and smashed Blossom's smartphone to the ground, making it crumble like it spent a minute in Blantic Blender. Blossom was shocked. What have you done to my phone? Professor, she can't do that. The Professor had an angry expression on his face and just said, Buttercup, I am glad that you restrained yourself and only did this after everything that happened. Please keep yourself together in those 2 weeks. We'll get through this, somehow. Bubbles, same goes for you. As for you, Blossom, this kind of tactics would make even him jealous. I don't know what's gotten into yourself, but that's not how you treat your family due to disagreeing with them. Blossom was happy and forgot about her phone, while her sisters glared at her. They knew that these are going to be 2 very long weeks, and that's how it ended. You know, actually, that one wasn't too bad. So there, creator, I read a decent fanfic. Ha 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 ha! I probably shouldn't have done that. I don't think I can erase that from her memory either, because she's the creator. Oh well. So anyway, it's kind of a shame that this one wasn't continued, because this one wasn't too bad. And from what I can recall from the Powerpuff Girls, I do believe Blossom was a bit full of herself, if I remember correctly. And I'm not sure if this is supposed to be based off of the original show, or that really bad reboot that came out a few years ago. You know, the one where Buttercup had a cowlick. Why did she have a cowlick? Why did they think that was a good idea? And I don't even think they brought back the original cast for that one. And it felt like that one completely missed the point. I mean, I didn't watch it myself, but I heard that it was not that good. So yes, this one was decently written. Had a couple of minor typos, but, you know, nothing bad. And as for the other story, like I said before, that was a colossal waste of time, and that was like the stupidest thing I had ever read. Well, thank you all for watching today's episode. If you did like the episode, please be sure to click on the like and leave a comment. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. I would greatly appreciate it. I will see you all next time, and hopefully I don't bring down the wrath of the creator on me. You'll find out in the next episode, I suppose. Until then, cheerio.